New Year's resolutions, really what it is a chance to set goals, but people shy away from it so much and they're discouraged by it so much, I think because of the negativity, because it's all about failing. And so it's all the stats about New Year's resolutions is all about who failed with their New Year's resolutions. It's not about success. And who determines my failure? I want to know that firsthand. If I miss a workout, does that mean I failed? Because everyone is going to miss a work. You're going to fail. Everyone is going to fail. And so fitness is not about being perfect and keeping fitness a part of your life and using fitness to help you be your best. It's not at all about being perfect. But whenever you fall off track, it's what you do next that counts.
Welcome to the Natural Health Matters podcast, where it's all about maximizing your health potential so that you can look and feel your best at any age. This is episode number 132. Today's food supply is compromised, and it's getting more and more difficult to get all the nutrients we need from the food that's available. That's why I recommend adding quality nutritional supplements to your routine. Now, there's a lot of choices out there, but keep in mind, where you get your supplements matters. There's very little oversight in the supplement industry, so because of ignorance and or unethical practices, a lot of products sitting on the shelves at places like drugstores or warehouse clubs are compromised. The only source I recommend is Fullscript. When I want supplements for my family and me, I turn to Fullscript. They only sell through healthcare professionals such as myself. So if you want quality supplements that actually work and a label that matches what's inside the bottle, look no further. The vast majority of Fullscript's offerings are not available at the retail level, and they're third-party tested for quality, all delivered directly to your door, and right now they're offering free shipping on orders over $50. If you use my link, you'll lock in a 10% discount for life. You've got nothing to lose. Go to my website, davidsandstrom.com/Fullscript, click on the orange button, create an account, and you'll get instant access to all my favorite products as well as my recommended protocols. And you'll be one step closer to looking and feeling your best. You won't be sorry. Today we have on the show Chad Austin. Chad was on the show about almost 2 years ago on episode number 73. It was the last audio episode we did, so I decided to have him come back on, talk about fitness here in the new year. And now we have audio and video, so you get to see what he looks like. He's a good-looking guy. Chad is a personal trainer, a gym owner, and an author. He helps busy professionals get out of their own way and improve their quality of life by building their consistency muscle and making fitness a priority. Chad, welcome back to Head and Natural Health Matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. It's always good talking with you. I know you've been up to a lot of work here in the fitness world. So tell us what you're doing today.
Well, I just got home from training my own clients. It's winter has started in full force here in Kansas City. There's a snowstorm out there, and that's why it looks like I'm in an igloo right now. It's actually not part of the storm. This is just my unfinished office. I'm still working on. I'm making the Priority Fitness Lab. So kind of the next part of my studio, Priority Fitness, and everything downstairs, and so this is my office above it. But it looks like an igloo.
If you're listening audio only, Chad is in his attic, I think, and his walls are foamed behind him, so probably he's going to make for a great studio.
It's going to be awesome when I'm done. Right now, it just looks like I'm covered in snow.
Yeah, looks cool. Yeah. So what have you been up to? What's going on?
Well, the reason I reached back out to you is I kind of evolved a little bit of my message a little bit more. And so when we talked before, make fitness a priority. That was my book series that kind of started everything with the question of what are your top priorities in life, and fitness always being the thing that I realized people don't even think of when they think of that question. We always put it off till later. But now the next part of that message that's kind of going forward so I can help really make an impact with people is the fitness reset, helping people kind of reset after a life change happens. That's really the reason I reached back out and what I wanted to share with your audience.
Yeah. So how would you define fitness reset? What does that mean to you?
Well, what I think it means, so my goal as a fitness person, and, I started out as, to learn understanding it's more about helping people reach their fitness goals, that my purpose is to help people get long-term success. Mm-hmm. And when I realized I wasn't really doing that, people were still getting on kind of an inconsistency roller coaster that we all get stuck on.
Right.
I wasn't addressing the main problem, and the main problem is what causes us all to come off track. And by the way, listeners, everybody falls off track. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're really fit. It doesn't matter if you've never worked out or if you're a personal trainer. Everyone falls off track from time to time. So it's nothing to be ashamed of or beat yourself up for. And the reason we all fall off track is because no one is immune to life's curveballs or unexpected challenges that we face. And
Yeah, that's
those
right.
unexpected curveballs and changes is what cause us to fall off track. And what the fitness reset does is just a very simple, easy process to go through, kind of a self-evaluation, just kind of a reset button to hit with yourself to help figure out how fitness fits in your life now that it's different. And so it's very simple. There's a lot of parts to it, but it's very easy to learn. And it's something that I think people can reuse over and over again so that no matter what is going on in their life, they can use fitness to help themselves show up as the best versions of themselves when they go through it.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's one of the reasons why I do what I do, and that is, if you have compromised health, sometimes you might have been dealing with a health challenge for years, maybe decades, and it just becomes your new normal. And when we're in a compromised state, whether we're lacking in energy or we're dealing with some chronic pain or whatever it is, we have a hard time showing up as the best version of ourselves. You cannot be the best dad or the best husband or the best mom or the best wife or the best employee that you're capable of being, right? And one of the verses that speaks to me over the years is John 10:10. Jesus said, "I came to give you life and life abundant." I don't want to just survive life. I want to live life to the fullest. And for me, that includes fitness, that includes wellness, that includes all the energy that I need to accomplish what I need to do throughout the day, and have a little margin. Have a little margin left over. I don't want to be completely spent at 8 o'clock at night. I want to have some energy left over. Can you say a few words to that?
I'd love that. I think that is really a lot of the same language that I have and kind of the thought process I went through. I mean, I know, and no matter, fitness started externally for me. Probably my motivation was how I look, but definitely as I've become a trainer it's realized that so much more of it is how I feel. And I know I handle my moods better. I handle my stress, my energy, anything going on, any adversity I'm going through. I handle all of it better, and that it affects my relationships, that affects my work, it affects everything. It just literally makes me the best version of myself. But the flip side of that, when you're not keeping fitness a part of your life, the opposite is true. I believe when I don't take care of my fitness, so when something changes in my life and it causes me to fall off track, the longer I take to adapt to that change and keep fitness a part of my life, the more it hurts all the parts of my life that are most important to me, whether it be my relationships, my work, or whatever, because I have a hunch that's when I'm the worst version of myself, is when I'm not taking care of myself.
That's right. Yeah, it's absolutely true. Give us an example of a curveball that somebody might come across that knocks them off of their fitness program, and how they can overcome that and get back into the groove.
Well, and so their life changes. I call them curveballs, but sometimes they are. And so what I mean by curveball, it just means we didn't see it coming. It was unexpected. And so we get those all the time. And it could be big, it could be small, but it doesn't matter. Or it could be good or bad too. So it could be maybe you got married. That's a big life change. Could be you got divorced. Could be you got fired. Could be you got promoted. Could be your job changes from being sedentary to traveling, or vice versa. It could be you have kids. Or maybe you have multiple kids now, or your kids have just gotten to the age where they're involved in everything, and so that takes up some of your time. It could be you moved, and so, or it could be you got maybe you are going through some grief or some loss, and that's affecting you. It doesn't really matter what it is. It could be good or bad, could be big or small, or it could be as small as just your schedule changing even, and we haven't adapted to that. But those changes can really just kind of throw us off track. And we're very quick when changes like that happen, when those curveballs come, we're very quick to adapt when it comes to our family, our career, our faith. We're quick to adapt to those things. But the last thing we even think about is our fitness. And then when it comes time, and like this time of year, at the beginning of the year, where our desire for change is at its peak, then we get into trouble because we want change so bad. We don't think about what fits in our life right now. We think about what gets us the fastest results. And then we go into our history in the past, what gave us great results in the past, But just because it worked in the past doesn't mean it's going to work now, because now your life is completely different. So you have to figure out what fits now.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say somebody lost a job and they were doing good in their fitness regimen up to that point, but now they're getting busy, getting their resume, dusting their resume off, doing interviews, getting on LinkedIn, making connections there, looking for a job. How could you help that person, get back on track? What would you say to that person?
Well, I'd say you lost your job. That's a kind of a gut punch, right? So you're going through some adversity. You need to be able to be yourself. You need to be able to show up as your best self to help get through it. And so, I mean, keep making sure that exercise and healthy eating, good sleep, hydration, all those things that would be fitness and I think taking good care of yourself is going to help you take that problem on, take that challenge on as your best self. And so I think when we're going through a tough time like that, when we're going through a change like that, I mean, that's an example of something that's kind of devastating that happened, that you have to work yourself through. But it doesn't matter if it's that change or even something that's good, that you're going to be able to go through it better and handle it better and show up as the best version of yourself to get through it. If you're keeping yourself a priority. So that is your why. When people wonder, how can I work out when I'm going through something like this? That is why, because you're going to be better able to handle it by making sure that fitness to me, fitness is just, that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I know with the impact that it makes, fitness is the vehicle that brings us all to the best version of ourselves. It doesn't matter what is the most important thing in your life, whether it's something to do with your family, or it's something to do with your career, or whatever you're passionate about. If fitness is not part of the picture, you won't be able to show up as the best version of yourself for that. And so the faster I can help people, the better I can do to help people keep fitness a part of their life, the more of an impact I can make.
Yeah. So when you find your why, you'll find your way, right?
Yeah, that's exactly true.
Yeah. So for that person, what if they said, well, yeah, that sounds great, Chad. I mean, I'd love to do that, but I'm just too busy. I don't have enough time. What would you say to that?
Well, I will say when people say that phrase, that I don't have time, what they normally mean is I don't have time to work out like I used to. So this is part of where the fitness reset kind of comes into play. So whenever our desire is at our peak, like it could be this time of year, where we're ready to make change, we normally think of a time in our past when we got the best results, or when the last time we got great results maybe, or when we were in the best shape of our life. And whatever we did for our exercise, or whatever we did for our nutrition, for all those things, then that is the bar. And it's like doing anything less than that is not doing enough.
Right.
And we have to take that way of thinking.
Failed.
Right. We have to take that way of thinking and throw it out the window. Yeah. Doing less does not make it less of a priority. I'm going to say that again. Doing less does not mean it's less of a priority. All it means is it fits differently now. And that is okay. And that is a very important thing to know. You have to know that what you do for fitness has to fit in your life. If it doesn't fit, it's going to be temporary.
Yeah, for sure. So I think what I hear you saying is make adjustments. Don't be stuck into a single way of doing things. Evaluate your life, evaluate how much time you could fit in a day. I mean, we all have the same 24 hours, right? Evaluate where you want to put your priorities. And you might be working out half as much as you used to when you're at your peak, but that's okay.
Yeah. And so the fitness reset is very simple, but it basically just means it requires you to answer two questions. And this is something that you'll do every time that a life change happens. And every time you hit the reset button here, you might answer these questions differently, and that's okay. So it just starts with going into it knowing I'm going to be honest with myself to get the best results. But that's the first question. How does fitness fit in my life right now? And so whenever something happens, whether it be good or bad, big or small, that you got to adjust to now, how does fitness fit in my life? And you just have to be honest when you answer that question. And then all the rest of that, what I do for my workouts, when they are, that stuff's going to help. That's going to help you answer those questions too. But how does fitness fit in my life right now?
Yeah. So I know when you often talk about people wanting short-term results because they have a short-term goal. And I know you're all about fitness for life. So could you talk to that for a minute bit? What does it mean when somebody says, hey, I'd like to lose 20 pounds before the wedding, or I'd like to fit better into my summertime clothing. What do you say to that person if you're their personal trainer?
Well, there's a little bit there that I would first, any motivation is awesome. And so if that kind of goal that's coming up, you have something coming up, most of us are fueled when we start, we're fueled by short-term motivation. So there's something coming up that is important to us, and that is where the motivation is coming from. And then it's important to lean into that. I think it's important to lean into that because motivation is awesome. Any way you can get it is great. But as you lean into that, I also have to help my clients dig a little deeper. As in, so why is this important to you? And we want to make that be part of the long-term plan. So why is it so important that you look good in your wedding dress, that your wedding dress fits? Why is it so important that you lose this 20 pounds? And that helps us get to the deeper reason. And so it could be, but that is an important question. Is first, it's lean into the short-term motivation, but we need to dig a little deeper with that to figure out how can we use this why this is really important to us to help us get longer success. Yeah,
for sure. Well, I'm going to ask the question now. What I think is on a lot of people's mind. We're just past the new year. Is how do you lose weight? How do you lose weight and keep it off? Is it about exercise? Is it about eating less? Is it more than that? Is it emotional? How do you help people lose weight and keep it off?
I think it comes with constantly resetting to understand how fitness fits in your life. And so what you do for fitness, like I've said this a few times now, what you do for fitness has to fit in your life. But I mean, it doesn't mean what you do for fitness doesn't change over time. Like if you have a big goal to start the year, like I'm going to lose 20 pounds, or if you have something coming up, I'm going to lose 20 pounds then you eventually have to ask yourself, what's next? So like if you don't ever ask yourself that question, then the answer is going to be answered for you. It's going to be nothing. And so that is a problem with the short-term goal is we put all our motivation is for this event, this date coming up. Yeah. And so hopefully you reach your goal and you feel great. But after that date has come and gone, then what? There's no more motivation. And so you eventually have, and it doesn't mean you have to keep, if you're working out, if it's a really hard goal to reach and you're obviously working really hard, it doesn't mean you have to keep working out that hard forever. Nobody in the world keeps working out that hard forever. That's why even the best athletes in the world, they have seasons and their intensity goes up and down throughout the course of the year. And that can be for you too. Maybe you even maybe it's the other, and you have this goal and it makes you even more motivated. You can make a bigger goal, and that could happen too. Or maybe it is you're going to take a little bit break, but I want to maintain what I did. So how are you going to do that? So you always have to have a plan of what's next, but that is part of figuring out how fitness fits in my life right now. And so that's the important part of that question. How does fitness fit in my life right now? And so after you reach your goal, it's a good time to hit the reset button again. How does fitness fit in my life right now? What does it look like? And what are my goals? If it's to maintain what I got, then how do I do that? What's fitness look for me? What's my exercise look for me? What's my nutrition look for me? All those things. But that, I think, is how you keep it a part of your life. The opposite, how people kind of get stuck on the inconsistency roller coaster where fitness is just a part of their lives in spurts, is they probably never ask what's next. But then every time they start a new program, they're probably starting something that doesn't really fit in their life. And so it's just going to lead them to temporary success. And it might even hurt the balance of their lives while they do it because they're forcing something in their life that doesn't really fit.
Well, when I had my practice, I would talk along these lines with people and try to get them to think long term. I'll ask them questions like, what have you given up because of your health challenges? What would you like to do if you had your health back? If I could wave a magic wand over you right now and cure every ailment you're dealing with, what would you do? Would you like to take that epic vacation, learn how to surf, play with the grandkids, age more gracefully? What is it? And I think, what I advise people is, think more long term. Get over the short term stuff and look down the road, look 10, 20 years down the road. And say, I had a guy on. He was a health and wellness guy, and he said, I want to be able to wipe my own butt when I'm 105. I mean, it's really not really about quantity of life. It's more about quality of life, I believe. I want to live the last 10 years of my life active and vibrant, and I want to have my mental clarity. I want to be aware of my surroundings. I want to have my flexibility and my agility and my balance. That's all important. So if you think along those lines, I think it's a lot easier to, stick to your fitness program or get to the gym or even do your workout at home, whatever it is. If you have a longer term goal that you're working towards, and, as you said, I mean, if you reach the 20-pound goal, okay, I lost my 20 pounds. Now what? And, that leads to the roller coaster dieting and all those things, which were not at all healthy, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think there was a stat when I was doing some research for one of my books where it was like most people fall out of fitness completely at least twice a year. I mean, so this is something that happens to majority of us. We all fall off track. And so even if you're not planning on it to happen, eventually it could happen. You could have some big change to happen in your life and you just didn't adapt fast enough. But what you want is to be able to have the tools to be able to reset and figure out how fitness fits in your life so you can get back on track. So that's the thing. I mean, this is an important message, I think, this time of year, because New Year's resolutions, I think we should, everybody, we should set goals more often and reset goals more often than we do. But New Year's resolutions, really what it is a chance to set goals. But people shy away from it so much and they're discouraged by it so much, I think, because of the negativity, because it's all about failing. And so it's all the stats about New Year's resolutions is all about who failed with their New Year's resolutions. It's not about success. And who determines my failure? I want to know that firsthand. If I miss a workout, does that mean I failed? Because everyone is going to miss a work. You're going to fail. Everyone is going to fail. And so fitness is not about being perfect and keeping fitness a part of your life and using fitness to help you be your best. It's not at all about being perfect. But whenever you fall off track, it's what you do next that counts. How do you get back on track? How do you reset? How do you come back to do even better?
Yeah. When I was doing my nutritional counseling, I had people come in, I give them an eating program and they do real good for a week. And then they have the office party and there's cookies and cake and wine and booze. And they say, yeah, I went to the party and I just totally lost it. And I just stopped. Well, why'd you stop? One day of binging is not going to hurt anybody. There's no reason to quit. And I think it's probably just an excuse. Would you agree with that? Or, what was going on with that person?
That's the phrase that always comes back. Well, I'll start again on Monday.
Yeah.
Because I already blew this week. I'll start again next week, or I'll start again tomorrow. And so
I'm thinking of the Rocky movie with Apollo Creed and Rocky's trying to train and Apollo's there and he's like, tomorrow, I'll just train tomorrow. And he's like, tomorrow never comes.
There is no tomorrow.
There is no tomorrow. That was it. Yeah, there is no tomorrow. It's true. It is true, and we live in the moment, and that's all we've got is the moment.
Yeah, I mean that is true. I mean that seems kind of intense maybe for somebody listening about keeping fitness a priority, but there is no tomorrow. But that really is the point. You can't keep putting off getting in shape. You can't keep putting off putting your health first, because you're doing yourself a disservice because you're not able to show up to be your best self for life and for everything that you love. Yeah. And so that's why it's so important, and that's why David and I are so passionate about this.
Mm-hmm. Well, another criticism I hear is, I'm not going to become a gym rat. That's kind of selfish. These people just go to the gym and they're just looking at the mirror and flexing their muscles. It's selfish. No, it's not, because you can only give out of your abundance. And if you want to serve other people, you want to love on other people, you've got to have something left. You can't give what you don't have. If you don't have the vitality, you don't have the energy, you don't have the mood to think and put yourself in someone else's shoes and serve that person, then you're going to have a problem. You're not going to be able to maintain it very long. So I really believe that staying fit and pursuing wellness is the least selfish thing we can do, and it's the most selfless thing we can do, because it puts us in better positions to serve and love on other people.
Yeah, you can't. You got to put the oxygen mask on yourself first, right? You can't help others without being the best version of yourself. I would first say if you're that person that looking at somebody else and think that they're showing off, then you might first dig a little deeper and ask why you feel that way, because it may have a lot more to do with you than it does that person. And if you take the time to actually address that, you may be way better off. Just a thought. That's the the brutally honest personal trainer answer to someone who is having a tough time with that. But if you want to really be the best version of yourself, sometimes we have to make a hard look in the mirror sometimes too. It might be something about yourself more so than that person.
Yeah, yeah. A little introspection will go a long way sometimes, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You know, ask yourself, why do I do the things I do? Why do I say the things I say? Why do I think the thoughts that I think? Yeah, sometimes those are some hard questions. You know, we don't want to face that. It's inconvenient. It's uncomfortable. But it can go a long way towards helping us
Getting
reach
out of your comfort zone is the best answer, though.
Yeah.
It's always going to lead to good things.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I got a question for you. You're a fitness guy. And, you know, one of the things I've noticed when you watch sports, of course, it's true with a lot of football players, but I know they spend a lot of time in the gym. But you can watch these sprint runners that are like, they specialize in the 100-yard dash. And, of course, they have muscular legs, but the upper bodies are ripped too. Why is that? I mean, they're spending most of their time training in the sprint running, right? But why is it that their arms and chest and back are so muscular as well? What are they doing to do that?
Well, they're fast twitch, explosive athletes, and so everything they do, I mean, they're working their whole body. And so everything they do is more about explosive, fast rep. So you think of a sprint, and football players, you know, most plays are like 6 seconds long. Right?
Yeah.
And so they're training to go as hard as they can for 6 seconds at a time. And so they're going to be more explosive. They're going to have bigger muscles because their intensity is going to be higher, rather than someone that has a long distance sport, that's going to be more about perseverance. It's going to be more about longevity. It's going to be more about endurance.
Yeah. So you would say that, do you believe in the high intensity interval training? Is that very useful, HIIT training?
Yeah, I believe in, you have to enjoy what you do, for one. I mean, it has to fit in your life, but you also have to enjoy it. And sometimes to enable to find something. So if you're intimidated a little bit by high intensity training, but if you've never done it, then I would dare you to give it a shot. I'd encourage you to give it a little go, because sometimes we stumble across what really works for us, and some of the best things we stumble across by just getting out of our comfort zone a little bit. And so I'll always do something new and different with my clients from time to time. And one thing they know about me is they're never going to get the same workout, because you don't want your workouts to start getting boring. You do the exact same thing over and over again. That's one thing that's going to lead to burnout and eventually you falling off track. And so you always have to keep changing your workouts, for one, for your body didn't adapt to it, but also so it doesn't get boring in your head. And so finding something new that could be challenging to you, you may stumble across a new love. I know I've done that so many times, but I may have someone that maybe their main goal is mobility training, or they're trying to just increase their range of motion, and so they can squat down the floor with their grandkids. But maybe one day I'll throw a curveball at them and we'll do some boxing or MMA training or something, because it'll be such a change. And it'll be such a change. So it could be a really fun change. It might stumble across something they love, but if not, it's still the lesson they did something hard, and that's very empowering.
Yeah, that's cool. So for a lot of people listening to this show, they're into graceful aging, and want to help people age more gracefully. What type of exercise would you recommend for somebody that's, say, in their 50s, 60s, even 70s, or older? To maintain their youthfulness, what would you recommend for those people?
Someone in their 50s. I think actually, majority of my clients, I'd say over half of my client base right now is actually 50 or older. Yeah. And so just personal training or just working out in general, exercise is different for everybody. And so a lot of times in the past, I've had conversations with people, and I've helped them kind of realize that some people have a misconception about what personal training would be or what resistance training would be. And so sometimes they think personal training, or they think of bodybuilding, or they think of just going to the gym to work out. They think of bodybuilding, and it could be something completely different for somebody else. If your goal is to increase your range of motion, so you want to be able to go upstairs without pain, you want to be able to squat down to the ground and play with your kids without pain. You want to be able to bend over and pick up a suitcase without any problems. If that could be more about your resistance training might have a lot of body weight. It might be a lot of smaller movements, and more about flexibility and mobility and balance. Someone else that has more of a goal of lifting heavy things or being faster or stronger, it could look a lot different. But I would suggest there's everybody's goal is a little bit different. It doesn't matter what age you are. I think the big saying is you don't stop working out when you get older. You get older when you stop working out. So I would definitely say resistance training, whether you've done it a lot and you haven't done it in years, or maybe even if you're 60 years old and you've never done it before, it can help increase your lifespan. It can help improve your quality of life doing resistance training. And so don't be scared away by the phrase resistance training, because there's all different forms of it. But I mean, body weight training is resistance training.
Yeah.
Because you're just lifting your own body weight. And so, but it could be different from everybody. So I would first ask yourself, what are your goals? What do you want? Do you want to be more mobile? Do you want to have more energy? You want to have more strength? What is it that your goal is, and go from there. But don't shy away from resistance training. And there's really nobody out there that resistance training wouldn't help.
Yeah, very good. And getting with somebody like yourself that can, help you pick the right exercises, the right intensity, the right duration, all that would help, and do the right form. I know there's a lot to it. It's hard to just walk into the gym if you haven't been in a decade or more in the startup. So hiring a professional like yourself.
Don't shy away from it, though, people.
Yeah.
I don't envy anyone that hasn't done it before. It is hard. I always say the heaviest weight in the gym is the front door. So sometimes getting started is the hardest part. But trust me, you won't regret it. It can improve your quality of life. So it might just be changing the way you think of it a little bit, though. If you're like my dad was and you think of resistance training, you think of bodybuilding, because it doesn't necessarily mean that. It's different for everybody. Yeah,
that's a good word. I'm thinking as far as anti-aging goes, one of the things that I think has benefited myself is balance. I had a serious foot injury a few years back, and I still do physical therapy for that and my back. And when I go in, that oftentimes they'll have me standing on one foot and, moving a ball around with the other foot, or taking a weight in one hand and tossing it, putting it to the other hand while I'm standing on one foot, or on one of those, what do they call them, Bosey balls? The balance thingy, standing on a Bosey ball and shifting that weight around just to get used to balancing on my weak foot. And I think to myself, this is going to go a long way when I'm 90 years old. Because, that's what happens to people when they lose their balance, they fall, they break a hip, they get big problems. They're in the hospital, they're on all kinds of medications, and there's, a lot of trouble associated with losing your balance when you get older. So I'm not an expert, but that's something I found to be useful.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, all the balance, your grip strength, your mobility, all those things as you age, the more you can keep your flexibility, your balance, your stability, strength, all those things are just going to improve your quality of life.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So any other low-hanging fruit that you'd like to share with the audience, Chad?
Well, just a little advice for you, for everyone this time of year. Just one more time. I know I said it earlier, but I think it's just such an important lesson right now that making fitness a priority is not about being perfect. Failing is not failing. If you do fail right now, if you started the year strong and you haven't made a mistake yet, and eventually you probably will. You probably won't make it the whole year without falling off track. But whenever you do the first time, whenever you make a mistake the first time, if you miss a workout, if you eat something you didn't intend to because you didn't plan ahead, or whatever happens, that doesn't end your fitness journey. Okay? It doesn't end your fitness journey where you just have to wait till next year. And failing doesn't stop you at all. Failing is really part of it, and really what makes you stronger and better at keeping fitness a priority is how you respond. It's how you respond and how you get back on track and just keep it going.
Excellent. That's a good word. So tell us about your Fitness Pivot app and the mini course that goes with it.
Yeah. So the Fitness Pivot, you can find it on Google or Apple apps. And it's a very useful app. If you like some of the conversation that me and Dave have had today about figuring out how fitness best fits in your life and using fitness as a vehicle to be your best self and getting long-term success, getting off the inconsistency roller coaster, that's what the Fitness Pivot app is all about. And so when life throws you a curveball and plan A no longer works, just like anything, you have to figure out what's plan B so I can move forward. And so the Fitness Reset that we've talked about a lot today that I think everyone would need to start to. If you go to the Fitness Pivot, my app, there's a free mini course on there that'll walk you through the 2 questions I talked about that is the fitness reset. And if you learn how to do that, you're going to be what I call a fitness fisherman. And to me, a fitness fisherman, I'm sure you've heard the phrase before, where if you give someone a fish, you feed them for a day. If you teach someone to fish, you feed them for the rest of their life. So what I want to do with my clients, I want to make an impact with my clients long after my time with them is over, just like David is with his listeners on this show. And so I want to teach people how to keep fitness a priority in your life. So no matter what curveballs they get going forward, they can keep fitness a priority and keep showing up as the best version of themselves. But that is what the tool, the fitness reset, will teach you how to do. It'll teach you how every time something unexpected happens in life and causes you to fall off track, you'll know how to reset to what fits in your new life going forward. And that is how you're going to keep showing up as the best version of yourself. But the fitness app, or the fitness pivot, that's the app you'll go get on Google or Apple. And the first thing you'll do is go to my free mini course, the fitness reset.
Okay, so the course is within the app. Is that right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay, great. All right, super. And if someone wants to get a hold of you personally, what's the best way to do that, Chad?
Chad at chadaustinfitness.com or makefitnessapriority.com. You can email me from there. But Chad at chadaustinfitness.com. You can get a hold of me there. And if you have any questions, if something triggered you in this, or if something just got you wondering and you have some questions, I love helping people. So don't hesitate to reach out to me.
And what's the name of your book, Chad?
Well, Make Fitness a Priority. That is the book series I have, and you can find that on Amazon.
Excellent. All right, Chad. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you being here today.
Thanks for having me on.
For more, go to the show notes page at davidsandstrom.com/132. There you can find a video as well as an audio version of the podcast. I always put links to all the resources that we mentioned and a whole lot more. And don't forget, I'm still looking for people to talk with. I'd love to get to know you better. If you'd like to do a 10-minute Zoom call with me, if you have any questions, be happy to answer them. I just really want to get to know my audience better. No strings attached here, no ulterior motives. I just simply want to get to know my audience. Go to my website, davidsandstrom.com/coffee talk, all one word. Pick a time and a date in the calendar, and you can schedule a 10-minute Zoom call with me. Love to hear from you. That's it for now. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk with you next time. Be blessed.